Welcome, Pomadier, to the Daily Examiner. My name is Elliot Ikilei. It is my extraordinary pleasure to see you come on board and come over. Now, first off, I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we have had. That is I'm very sorry about that. And I just am very excited that you are here. I hope that you've been sharing this. This is coming from the front line. One of the wonderful things that we have been able to do is to really chat to people who are discussing. Now, also, in terms of yourselves who are connected to the main pages, then please put in comments, ask questions. More than happy to get involved and have some discussion on it. The two prison officers or correctional officers that we have on board with us, they are powerful. They've spent years in the force. I can also see in our comment section we've already got some guys who are, and from myself, from someone who is on the outside, I've got no idea what's been going on. So let's bring them in and let's have a big old talanoa. Let's have a big discussion about what's happening. My first guest that I want to bring on is called Shane, and we'll see if he can give a bit about himself as well. G'day, Shane. How are you?
Well, good. Thanks, Elliot. Hey, I'm the blame for that technical. I take all the blame for that.
Hey.
I'm a 61-year-old. I've just taken early retirement. I've been 15 years in the prisons at Rimutaka. So there is my knowledge that I'll bring about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's powerful. That's excellent. And we've got our other guys. So that was from Rimutaka prison. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right. Great. Excellent. And our next guest is Stu Cameron. Stu, g'day. How are you?
Not bad. So I'm probably a little bit to blame for your technical problems tonight as well.
Hey, for once it's not me, so I think that's really good. And look, guys, you'll also see that Stu does not have his video on. There are reasons for that. All right, we know that we're living in quite a different type of world currently. We want to bring back the New Zealand that we have had, the one where we've all been together and united, but we're not there yet. So Stu will be speaking to us, and that's the angle from there. Look, guys, I can already see that there are some wonderful people who are saying, I've got Ray Taylor. Oh, she'll work with Shane. Very awesome. Let's go. Oh, hey, getting some parts in there, Shane. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So can we just have a quick chat? Let's have a go. So Shane, you were at Rimutaka prison for 15 years. Stu, how about yourself? What's your experiences that you got there?
I was at Auckland Medium Security Prison at Perimeter for just on 7 years.
Right, Perimeter, man. I mean, look, I've worked at Youth Justice. I've done a few shifts at CMP. Those are youth, and that's, I think, what you guys have done is beyond probably what my scope of work could entail. And look, I don't think it's outside of the parameters for me to say to you both, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. In terms of being able to be there for prisoners. And some of them, aren't going to be the horrific nightmares. Some of them are going to be the horrific nightmares. But thank you for doing what you guys have done over the years. It's appreciated.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. So let's get stuck in. And I want to give this time, I want this to be more of a platform for you guys. So for you guys who are in the comment section, throw out some questions there if you want. This is what it is. But the main thing that brought us here together today is 100. I believe it's 152 people have been brought onto special administration. Shane, can you start us off there? What's going on? Why have the officers? And I know that you've been discussing with officers throughout the day and throughout the months recently. What's going on? What's happening?
They're upset. They were told they wouldn't need to be jabbed. The whole integrity of the department is they're being forced to do something they don't want to do. They're upset with the department. And the other thing is while all of those guys are being put on special leave, all of the rest of the guys left there, which are already under pressure, even with those guys there, are now being put under extra pressure. And they're really upset with the media and the people the media asked, the head officers who are saying everything is all right when they know everything is not all right. They you know, they're being told that if they don't take the jab, they'll lose the job. That's what they've been told. And you've got a lot of island boys and women who, for moral reasons, don't want it. And you've got a lot of older officers that are going, they're just not going to put up with it. They're not going to put up with the stress anymore, and they just want to go. That's what's happening at the moment. And guys are getting angry and upset at what the government's doing, especially when they know that the prisons are running at critical at the moment.
So my understanding is, and this is from reading, I believe it was the New Zealand Herald, or reading the mainstream media that have been covering this. They're saying that everything's all fine and dandy. They're saying that, hey, look, operationally we're good to go, 3.5%. What would you say about that? Are you saying that they're not being truthful? Would it be?
No. Well, they're asking head office. Head office know absolutely nothing about the coalface. They really don't. They'll give all these edicts and that they want done, but a lot of people in the head office don't know what a prison's like. And the prison is like a war zone. Sometimes you don't know when it's going to kick off. I was talking to one of my prison mates, and he says they're running the 12-hour shifts, and they're running rolling unlocks.
I'm sorry, wait. You're saying that correctional officers are having
yes.
they need to work 12-hour shifts.
They're now going 12-hour shifts.
That's incredible. You're talking about a high pressure, possibly volatile and violent role.
Because that's the way the department sort of thought that they'd save money, they could then spread the officers around. But they're leaving units undermanned. When prisoners don't get unlocked, they get grumpy. And when you've got wings that are really short-staffed and undermanned, they can't open. They can't open the doors for them. They can't let them out. So you've got angry prisoners, and you've got not many staff to deal with it. It's wrong.
Absolutely. So, Stu, I'm going to bring you in here, Stu. Because I know that here you are speaking about yourself. So I want to conflate that with also what your role is in the professional world. What are your thoughts about what's happened, and in terms of what Shane's been discussing currently?
What he's just been saying is what friends that are still in the service are actually telling me as well, plus more. Like their assaults are a way up.
Yep.
There's no support for the staff from management. And like he says, when you've got inmates locked up, not only is it bad for the inmates, but it does create like serious situations for the staff.
When you say serious situations, for those of us who are laymen, we don't know any of this. Most of us watch movies. That's about as much as it comes. When you say serious situations, what do those look like exactly?
If a guy's locked up and, let's face it, they maybe not getting visits and that, they maybe not slipping the drugs through, so they're, possibly going through withdrawal if they've got a drug habit. They might have what's called a shiv, if you've ever heard of that, which can be a sharpened bit of steel, sharpened toothbrush, anything like that, that's a bit of bone that's sharpened up. And they start coming out like that. Like back in our day, we didn't have any of the stab vests or anything like that they've got today. But still, you just don't want to go there. It's just, you like, I don't know what the exact ratios are in the current wings, but like back when I was working, we had 2 officers to 48 inmates. Wow. And when it cracks off, it's back to back, and you hope that guy that's looking at the camera is doing his job right.
Right, Shane. I noticed a couple of moments there when you were hardcore shaking, nodding your head. when it was when Stu was bringing up things like assaults and serious events. What have you seen? You know, in terms of them, in terms of the guys being locked up, you know, for donkeys when they have to be restricted in them. I believe they're called restricted runs. Is that what the sort of lockdown situation is
running
called?
restricted. Running restricted, which means that if you haven't got enough staff, you keep the wing locked. That means they can't get out for exercise periods. They start getting grumpy, especially if they can't do their phone calls, and the ones that have to try and keep the peace are us, you know, and we're not even the ones causing it. You know, the other thing that'll happen is if we've got prisoners that end up in hospital, we've got to allocate staff to look after them, and that then takes away staff off the floor because we haven't got staff to take up the slack if we're missing staff going sick. They are running. I suppose sometimes it's our fault because we're old school and we don't want to let the side down, so we still go in. But boy, we're getting burnout. A lot of us old guys are getting burnout, and it's not good. And assaults are happening. When I was talking to one of my colleagues who's just left today, he was saying when they were left with just 3 officers and 2 wings, and an incident kicked off, and they didn't even have enough staff to sort it out. It can get scary.
So that's 3 officers for 2
Crumbs,
wings, was it?
He had both. They had both wings open.
And so, a wing is a section of domiciles, areas for the prisoners, is it?
Yep, sections of cells. So, crumbs. What are 30 each side? You know, and they can be out. And if something happens, it can be scary stuff. The alarm goes off, officers come running, but that leaves short in other wings. You know, because all the officers have come to deal with the incident in the wing that there's trouble. It's not working. The unions are even not pulling finger on this, and everyone's
so the unions
scared
who fight for you.
They're not fighting for us anymore. They're political now.
That's incredible.
They're all political now.
And I wanted to bring up Stu. So, in terms of your experiences as well as your context, because I've noticed, I'm seeing it in the comment section. I've seen it from Shane before. And I'm hearing from yourself that you guys seem to have a fraternity that lasts for decades, which I think is beautiful. Actually, I think it's wonderful in terms of the relationships that you build in there. Now, I'll give you the same question that I gave to Shane, which is the New Zealand Herald, I believe it was, who reported that the bosses are saying only 3.5% are out. And hey, look, that's fine. We can still run it. Operational is all good to go. It's going to be unaffected. Are they correct? You know, are the operations going to be all good to go, even with it, as they say, only 3.5 out?
Well, I'm actually surprised that there's only been 1 prison that's gone up in smoke so far with a riot. It's like we were sitting back with the old boys, shall we say, sitting back looking at Waikuria and shaking our heads, going, you know, that would never have happened in our day because, you know, within a minute or 2 we had the staff to go in there and deal with that. The fire hoses, batons, we would have gone in and sorted that, and it would never ever have got to the stage that it did. But of course they're understaffed, they've got no support from the management. And like, well, can you believe anything the Herald actually prints?
Well said. Well said. I want to get from you guys. I'm really feeling. Look, I'm seeing it in the comments as well, and I'm really getting a real strong sense that there's a lot of actual pain in here. That there seems to be such a deep amount of resentment that it's actually emotionally painful. Am I picking that up correctly? That there's such an amount of resentment, hurt. I'm also hearing a bit of hurt here, and I don't know where that's coming from. But am I correct, or am I just barking up a tree? Shane, is there a sense of betrayal somewhere along the line here? Because that's what I'm seeing in the comments, and that's what I'm hearing from you and from Stu, even though he's been out for years.
Yeah, there is a betrayal. That Spring Hill thing, if it was left to the officers to deal with it, it would have been shut down within hours. But as soon as managers and the PC sort of brigade get in, then it just keeps going for ages. And we're sort of pushed to the side, and we go, we could have fixed this, we could have stopped it early, but you're now going for political points here. We can't do this, we can't do that. And I've watched a lot of good officers being passed over for promotions and that, and a lot of times they didn't tick the right boxes, and they were really good leadership guys. And there was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of hurt within the department. There's anger at managers because they're not sticking up for the staff, the very cold face that have to deal with stuff. They're listening to all the political, because every level going up is covering their butt, and they're wanting to follow what their political leanings and leaders are saying, so that they don't lose their jobs. So they're making us guys at the bottom, well, now that I'm out, but all the guys that are still at the bottom, they're making them do a whole lot of work that we shouldn't be doing. They're making us social workers. Crumbs. Some prison officers find it hard enough talking with each other without being a blooming social worker to someone else.
Yeah, and can I ask, because what also seems to be from what you and Stu are saying is the union. So who is your? I mean, the union is when I was with SIPS, and I had an issue. I went to the union, and I think my union was PSA, which is that government union.
Yep.
Is now you of course when I was there with SIPS, then we had to we had to advocate for ourselves and actually sort of kick the union to do it, but they were generally on our side roughly, as long as we had our paperwork in order. Who is the union of the corrections?
Well, you've got CANS, which is a dedicated prison officers union, and then you've got the PSA.
And who are you having now? Look, now the guys who are in there now. So you guys who are in there now, don't worry. You just keep on saying that. Hey, everything's fine. We know that you have to say that. That's absolutely fine. You got to play that game. We get it.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of guys on here right now who are pumped and they're not trapped by that particular restriction. So so who is the major issue here in terms of unions? Who's not standing up? Who's not fighting for the prisoners, the prison guards themselves?
Who do you want to ask, Stu or I?
Let's go with you first, Shane, and then we'll go on to Stu.
Okay. All right. I was CANS, and then CANS had sort of had backed a bully PCO over someone who got accused of something that wasn't, because he wasn't being what she wanted him to be, and had brought up serious issues to do with safety. So, and that sort of, I like a bit of truth, and so I went to the PSA. I was happy with the PSA and until the election came up, and I noticed that all of the PSA members were getting emails from a campaign, Let's Do Even Better. And it had a video of a woman that looked like Jacinda, acted like Jacinda, same mannerisms, same cadence in the voice. And so I sent an email to the campaign manager, which was a guy called Brendan Lane. He said, and he had said, I'd said, are you running a Labor campaign? To which he said, no, the PSA has never led a Labor campaign. They don't they're apolitical. They don't support any party or that sort of thing. So I found out bits and pieces, being an old journalist, because that was one of my things, and I put links to where the PSA had been helped by the Labor government, to which he sent back an email saying, well, maybe we have. And that. Well, I looked him up and found out that he was Jacinda Ardern's campaign manager for her first election. So
Yep.
I'm sort of going, that's wrong. We're not. This is supposed to be an apolitical union, public service. We're not supposed to be. But he pushed a clandestine Labor campaign right throughout the PSA, and he signed up the PSA as a third party. And I'm starting to go, well, if officers have problems with the government's mandates and edicts, they're not going to get any help from a union which is entrenched Labor. You know, that is so wrong to me. The campaign manager of Jacinda Ardern is one of the head voices in the PSA.
Yeah,
so
I think that's
he's going to push that.
It's absolutely, yeah. I find it a severe conflict of interest, but I'm not sure what their rules are. Stu, so you've been hearing that. What are your thoughts about the union? Do you think that they're sticking up for the prison guards? Now, I apologise, I might be saying this totally wrong, or is it correctional officers? Should I be saying that?
Oh, screws will do.
Screws will do. Okay, got it. I can see that word coming up in the comments as well. So it's pretty cool. Stu, what do you think?
Back in the day, we had the PSA try to shaft us big time, and it was a political move. And that was over our retirement fund.
Wow.
And they were trying to sell us a fund that the government was wanting, not one that was beneficial to the staff.
Yeah.
And where we had a superannuation package that was actually very beneficial. And it was only like at our prison and at main perimeter, like maximum security, and Waikaria prison were the only three. Oh, and sorry, Dunedin prison were the only 4 prisons in the country that actually rejected it. But it was been very politically pushed. So that nothing's really changed from what I can see.
Right. Now, yeah, okay, right. I see that. I mean, that's a massive problem in itself, especially considering what unions are supposed to be. As in, they are supposed to be apolitical. You could be a right winger, a centre conservative. You could be a left winger. It's not supposed to matter one little bit. You're supposed to be looked after as per the terms of your contract, and that. So the Minister of Corrections, Calvin Davis. Stu, let's go to you first for this. I'm curious about what you think about Calvin Davis, who is the Minister of Corrections. He has presided, especially over that time of the last riot, and we've seen what he's been doing. What are your thoughts on Calvin Davis? Is he being effective? Taking away the Labor that he is with Labor, is he doing a good job? Is he not? What are your thoughts about Calvin Davis in terms of the corrections?
Well, clearly with the non-support of staff from the management, with non-support to staff at the coalface, and the way that staff are leaving, he's totally ineffective.
Yep. I see. And look, we've seen some Jen Clark, a nice humorous little bit there. Who's that? Yes, fair enough. I hear you there. Ray, Calvin is useless, right? Thank you, Ray. Yep. Michael D'Angelo, Waikaria sorted my shit out. Working my butt off at the camps. Now it's a holiday camp. Yes. What's wrong with these unions? They're not realised leader of the Labour Party. What's called unions at party executive. So guys, look, I can tell you too that there's a lot of comments in these sections going on. Thank you so much for that. I'll just put in this last one simply because it was the last one in there. Calvin Davis is overpaid numpty. Okay, and Calvin is useless. So we seem to be getting a bit of a consensus here. So that's interesting. Shane, I don't want to trigger you. I was about to say the honourable Calvin Davis. what are your thoughts on Calvin? And you know, because I think that there would be an awareness, and especially in terms of the comments that he has made even now about that seem to be on the side of offenders rather than the screws.
Yeah. Hey, he just makes the life of a prison officer far worse to try and control, because the prisoners now are all coming up with their rights. You know, I've got this right, I've got that right. And you say, right, well, we want you to, no, I have my rights. And it seems like the ones that have to really comply with everything is the officer. You know, we are being watched in everything we do. If something happens or goes down, we're the ones that get in trouble. You know, if a prisoner assaults somebody and then puts...
Oh, looks like he's frozen a bit. So we'll see if Shane comes back. I'm sure he will at some point. The internet will do its job there, and I think that's a big one. Stu, while we're waiting for Shane just to pop in there, tell me, Shane mentioned a little bit in there, was quite interesting, how he said from the layers coming down that there was a sense of that you had to be, whether he was using the word woke or if it was that strong diversity factor. Have you been hearing I mean, look, we don't like wokeism anyway, but there seems to be a strong push about woke things entering society, and I never thought that the prisons would have to face this issue. Have you heard about this idea about wokeism actually starting to be pushed onto the correctional officers, onto the screws, into the prisons themselves?
Oh, most definitely. And that, like, the reality is that is the reason I actually left.
Right.
Like all those years ago, it was starting to be introduced then, and the writing was on the wall that you were going to be restricted in how you could do your job.
Right. Do you have any examples of that? Now, Shane's given me one earlier, and I'm hoping that he gets back so that he can tell us a few of them. Oh, there he comes. There.
Oh, sorry, it is. Someone
right.
tried to ring me.
Oh, no. Hey, screws in IT. Awesome.
Hey, it must be somebody saying, "Shut up, Shane, shut up."
Oh, true. We were just on to, so we were just talking, and I want to come to you after this. So Stu was just explaining that, in actual fact, one of the biggest reasons why he left the service was because of wokeism, or the ideological push into prison. So,
Yeah.
so oh, looks like Shane's got a few to say. So, Stu, do you want to carry on? You carry on there, Stu, as to what you've seen and what you've experienced.
Well, like a perfect example would be like where an inmate had stepped me out, and you ended up with a one-on-one on him, and he ended up like with one good blow. I opened up his forehead and basically blood everywhere. And then I had to take him up to medical. And the first thing that he asked, like the nurse asked him, was, "Has this officer assaulted you?" And it was like pretty much at that point that I decided, hey, it's time to get out of this job.
So you're saying that the prisoner was asked if you had assaulted him?
Yeah, when he'd actually stepped me out.
That's incredible. And that's when you decided, no, that's it.
And pretty much that was on a breakfast parade with 48 inmates in the wing and 2 officers in there with them.
Wow. Is this the sort of ratio that was sort of, that's an incredible ratio.
Yeah, basically 24-to-1 ratio. And like, I had to stop that real quick. So that's why he got treated like he did.
Yeah. No, I approve. I think that you have to. If you've got a 1-to-24 ratio, and it's not like a normal 24, it's 24, and a lot of them will be hard-bitten criminals, even some of them younger ones, or trying to make a name for themselves. I think that's quite shocking. Incredible. Shane, you've mentioned to me, I remember last year you and I had a discussion, and you did bring up something that did, I just shook my head. But what have you seen? What have you experienced in the prisons as to what's going on in terms of the ideological push going in there?
Okay, there's a person in the comments, and she'll back me up on this. They had the Rainbow Week, and right in the gatehouse, right in the, where it should be a neutral public ground for everybody, every officer, no matter what denomination, ethnicity, or blimmin' curio or what. It should be a blank space where you could walk into your work area and not be confronted with anything you may disagree with or that. But they doled up the whole of the front gatehouse with rainbow stuff. And we had officers coming in, looking, and they go, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. And of course, they were handing out cupcakes and at the thing. And I said to the prison manager, who happened for Rimutaka, she is a wonderful prison manager. I just thought I'd get that out there. But they were handing out cupcakes and all that sort of stuff. And even some of my gay friends and colleagues in there says, this is too much. They're aggressively promoting Pride Week and that, when most of us gay folk just want to be normal people, not out there sort of pushing everything. It's it's the same as when they pushed in all the transgender stuff on the prison officers and said it was a scientific fact. They made it out as if it was a scientific fact when it wasn't. And they made us do a credit system, educational credit, by learning about this in the statement. And I said, I'm not signing that, because that's affirming something that hasn't been proven to be scientific.
Sorry, wait. You had to sign some document or some online course that
online course on transgenderism, where it says it's natural, it's not a choice, it's not this, it's that. So the way we treat them is a thing. And I took it up with the prison manager, and I took it up with the HR, and I says, I'm not signing anything that's not been scientifically proven. This is ideological. It's not scientific.
I mean, you're come on. I mean, you're joking, right? I mean, you're talking about pink cupcakes and doling up a prison office, a prison office where you actually, to a degree, you need to have that steel thought, that mental strength in you to be able to do that. And they're handing out cupcakes and making you do what, diversity or transgenderism?
No, we had done the diversity. We had done the diversity training on. That was part and parcel of getting, of our education sort of thing. But we had the Korowhai, which has the sex offenders, just up the thing, and they were running the manager of that was running a rainbow flag up the state flagpole, and we were going, what the? It's become, people are too scared to sort of say. A lot of there was also promotions if you ticked that box, so that they could say, look, we have a gay thing. So the person who got it, I totally know them. They're a great person and that, but it just seems like they're picking people to tick a box to say, look how open we are, look how and people are getting overlooked who should be in those positions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, Warwick, thank you very much. Warwick, you've been thank you very much. I am someone who does get popped onto tangents and that, so thank you very much. We'll get back into the agenda item. And that is, of course, the mandates, the fact that now guys are being kept aside because they're choosing of their own free will to not be injected with the Pfizer injection. Stu, let's start with you here. What do you think this is going to do to the other crew, to the other crewmates in the other prisons, their mates beside them? How do you think the mandates are actually going to affect them?
Well, if they end up understaffed, I would say it'll drive the suicide rate amongst officers. And
Wow.
that's bloody high, as it is.
Yeah,
Because of the pressure.
I have not. I haven't seen the suicide rate for officers. So, and I can see Shane nodding his head over on the other side there. Are you aware of screws who have actually killed themselves, who have committed suicide over that? Well, just committed suicide in general, is it?
Over the years,
Yeah.
I've had 7.
Wow. Oh. Yeah.
All good men.
Okay. Bloody hell.
And you've also had people who have died going home from work because they were just too tired. You know,
Right.
look, the money is sometimes a factor, and when they say, "Look, we've got no one to work, can you stay on or can you work this?" people put up their hand and they go, "Yep, I can do that," but they get tired, and rules start getting broken. Whereas they say, "Oh, make sure you've got a 10-hour break." Well, once everything starts getting tight and they've got no staff, they forget about that rule and they just let people work on.
So if these, I mean, these are I believe the number is 152 at the moment. We don't know if that number is going to increase. My understanding is that a lot of them are actually frontline staff as well. So it seems to me that what you guys are saying is that is going to firstly put direct operational pressure on them, on people who are already under pressure to perhaps do up to 12-hour shifts. And 12-hour shifts are hard yakka. And then we've already got a job where you guys have seen, Stu, you've said that 7 of the brothers have decided to leave this place early, that they should, that suicidal factor. And of course, adding that up, increasing the time range of working, then you've got fatigue as well as the constant pressure about, guys, if something's got to kick off, is it going to be assault, a riot, who knows what, and constantly underpinning the day-to-day work that's needing to be done. I mean, is it fair? These vaccine mandates, is this fair? What should happen? I mean, about COVID, what do you guys think? Shane, what do you think? I mean, I know that seems like a loaded question, but I do genuinely want to ask, what are your feelings about the vaccine mandate overall?
Well, it's stupidity. They know that we are so understaffed. How the heck do they want to put staff off? It's more an ideological blooming thing than anything. Labor of old wouldn't have lost workers. They would have been protecting their workers. This Labor is more of an academic sort of thing, and they don't care about workers anymore. And they can't replace them. Even all the new ones coming in, they're starting online learning, then putting them in a prison. They're sort of graduating and then going, "Oh, hell, this isn't the job for me. I'm not used to getting talked to like this, or I'm not used to being abused," and they leave. My friend who's just retired, at Rimutaka, he says there were 10 caps that arrived within a week of people who had just left. Either from vaccination or the job wasn't for them, or they were just getting old. It's the government and all their head officers are lying to us all. They're lying to the public. The prison is hemorrhaging, and they're saying it's all good. It's not. It's not at all.
And that puts, at a selfish level, that puts your mates and your brothers and sisters at absolute risk. And that also actually puts not even just the prisoners, that also puts the community who both surround it and where things may come out at direct safety issues as well. I think that's quite shocking. Stu, what about you? What are your thoughts around, we've talked about the pressures that's going to do to the brothers and sisters who are in the service already. What are your thoughts around the vaccination mandates? I mean, should they even be done? I mean, we know that parliamentarians, for example, I believe that they are double vaxxed, but from my understanding, they don't need to be. Why is it? What's the strong push there to make the screws actually get jabbed?
Yeah, I just don't understand it. It's like to me, the whole COVID thing. If everyone just refused to get tested, it'd just go away. It's and I think that could be a way forward with it. If everyone in the country just refuses to get tested, the government's got no information. And let's face it, there's very few people die from it.
Yeah, that's right. I think what's the I believe it's 99.97, if that's correct, and in terms of the survivability rate.
Between sort of 99.78 to 99.9 something. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's a very, very high survival rate depending on where you get your figures from. But like you're saying that new officers coming in, you imagine say 5'6", 5'7", fairly fresh out of varsity or something like that, and you go into a front face of a wing on the first day, you get some big boy coming at you with 2 pool balls and a sock. It'd be a very shocking thing for some of these kids that have been through a woke education system these days.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, very good point. You've got the CRT, the critical race theory, that's going to be jabbing them up, and then they're going to have to go into course, and it's going to be quite shocking, actually. I just want to have a quick look at some of the comments here. Barbara, have seen some nasty comments from staff about the unvaccinated stuff. So it does seem to be, there may even be a case where there is starting to be an us-them notion in between the staff members as well. Now, you guys also mentioned about the new guys and how they're going to have to take on online studies. And if you've got guys who are saying, I don't want to have the Pfizer injection, and then if they do get moved on, then suddenly that does put pressure on it. So that's what's going to happen to the staff. In terms of the guys who are maybe going to have to get new people coming in or actually be more short-staffed, what do you think is the real-world future going to look like? And I'm talking about the next 6 months, when these mandates are really taking force and you are going to lose people. What do you think is going to happen within the next 6 to 12 months? Shane, what do you think? What do you think we're going to see in the prisons?
Next 6 to 12 months, I think the frightening thing for me is we don't know the long-term effect of the vaccine. And if the vaccine does cause what a lot of people are saying it's causing, you're going to have fit officers might be collapsing or having serious health problems. Who's going to replace them? That can be a very serious aspect of it all. It's a great unknown here.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's a cultural thing too. Like, as in Western culture, all of the OECDs, those ones who are pushing it, it would be quite shocking. I can see in some of the comments that some guys are talking about the fact that the Labour Party is probably going to start releasing more and more prisoners. We do know that there's been
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So Stu, what do you think? What are your thoughts about this, and what's going to happen? What do you think?
Yeah, I think like you just said, as the staffing levels drop, we're going to hit the revolving door prison system, and there's going to be some seriously evil people released back into society early.
I think, I have to say that's just quite extraordinary. Why we're doing it. We know that the bail laws and also the home detention has expanded greatly. I recall the professor of journalism who effectively sexually assaulted an older lady twice. Went down there and he got home detention. The person who sexually assaulted or groomed a child ended up having oral sex a few times and engaged in some horrific stuff. It was actually a traitor to my industry, or he was a traitor to youth industry. He got home detention. People have killed and they've gotten home detention. So it does seem to be that this particular government is pushing out there. I think we also have He Puapua, and I know that He Puapua is a document which is saying that you need to get rid of prisons overall. In terms of what you guys have seen in the prisons, yes, all prisoners, or most, if not all prisoners, are victims themselves at some point. Do you think that we should be letting most of these guys back onto the street to just join society, whether or not they have reformed or been rehabilitated? What do you think there, Shane?
I've always likened a prison to a pirate camp. You know, full of pirates. You got nice pirates and you got the nasty pirates. The nasty pirates always pick on the nice pirates. You know, they take all the nice pirate stuff. The crumbs. I remember us saying, many warnings go unheeded, but the blueness of the wound brings back remembrance. And quite often, a lot of these guys are going through the courts, they're getting told, naughty boy, slap, and then going out and they do it again. Naughty boy, slap, go out, do it again. Naughty boy, slap. But then all of a sudden they end up in the courtroom and the judge says, you've done this enough times, prison. And sometimes prison is a place for them. It's like even all the classes they give them, unless they want to learn, it's pointless. And you got some guys that are just in there to rule the roost and make a name for themselves. They're not interested in anything else. I wouldn't let them out. You know, they're not the sort of people you let out. Yet there are the guys that put in the effort and want to make the change. Those are the sort of guys that you go, you know, I think it's time for you to go because you've sort of made it possible for all us to see that you're a changed person. But there are a lot of guys in there that they don't want to change. Yet they're going to be let out.
Yeah, shocking. Stu, so what about yourself? We've got the mandates that are coming. We've got the staff are getting more and more under pressure. Absolutely building up heavily themselves. We are probably not going to be able to manage a population. I believe the population muster is currently at just over 10,000. What do you think? Should we be releasing some of these prisoners? And the political argument will be made, no doubt, of either extending home detention or obviously just allowing those with what they refer to as lower offences just to gap it, maybe get fines. What are your thoughts around that?
My personal thoughts on prisons is that they're not a place for reform. They're a place for incarceration. I've never seen an inmate be reformed by the system. The only time I've seen inmates reform is when they make a change within themselves. Now, it's quite interesting. I don't know what it's like right now with the prison population, but when I was in the job, you would have your Maori and Pacifica inmates. They would, at about sort of late 20s to early 30s, they would start making a change within themselves because they seen their kids starting to go off the rails and realize they need to be out there and they're more family orientated. Whereas the white boys, they tend to go right through into their 40s and 50s and be hard asses. And, so it's, don't try and reform these guys because when they're ready, they will reform themselves.
Right.
And maybe the street is not the place for them, It's like the 3 strikes been repealed this week for sexual offenders. That's God. Like that's what we need: more sexual offenders on the street.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually a good one to bring up. In terms of yourself and the other guys, what are your thoughts about the 3 strikes law overall? Do you think it's been a good thing for the community?
Yeah, I believe it should have actually been extended out for violent crime as well, because you've got people that are just not prepared to live within the mores of society, and reoffend, you've got to hit a point where you just say, well, hey, guy, you're not going to ever be a productive member of our society. It's chuck you in this blooming cage here, and that's your lot for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And there are people like that in our society, unfortunately.
Shane, what do you think? Do you think that the 3-strike laws, were they a good thing? Should we be keeping it? What are your thoughts there?
The 3 strikes law, yeah, it's. I suppose it's very much like, the airports. If you've got drugs on you, the Asian airports. If you've got drugs on you, put them in this box, and then you can move forward. But if you're caught with them, this is the penalty. And I think the 3 strikes law is basically that. Look, we're giving you this thing. If you decide to move past that point, then it's on you. It's not on us or the society. You chose to do that. And so there are some people, 3 strikes, yep. Yep.
So I'm going to put this out there, and I'm just curious about your thoughts. And let's start with Shane here. Should the prison guards, the corrections officials, you're right, Stu. It's quite interesting that the name Department of Corrections, quite a fascinating, inaccurate name that they have there. Shane, do you think that the guards should march? Do you think that they should protest against these mandates and basically say, no, get stuff? We either get to choose to say what goes into our body as per the Nuremberg Code, or what? What do you think that they should do in terms as a reaction to these mandates?
As a reaction, I would say choose a day, sick day, every officer. Every officer, take a sick day. Because I tell you what, if that will send shivers up, if anything will send shivers up the spine of the government, that will. Because even the managers and that will be, it will send a message that they cannot run without prison officers. We are our own worst enemies, especially us older ones. From 47%, I'm pretty sure 47% of prison officers are 50 years and above. 24% is about, I think, 40 to 50. 16%, 30 to 40. That doesn't leave many youngsters. So it's if we all went, if I was still there, if we went and took a complete sick day where nobody turned up, the prisons would burn. The prisons would burn. There'd be riots. I'd feel for the poor guys that probably thought that they weren't going to take a sickie. But the message has to be given to the narrative that the head officers are giving the government, that they're saying it's all good. It's not. It's not good. Not good at all.
So right. So Stu, Shane is saying that look, security. All of the prison officers get together and say, right, sickie on this day. And in a sense, that seems to be a bit of a strike from the union as well. That's the subtext that I'm hearing anyway. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think that should be the reaction to the government trying to coerce the prison officers to take the Pfizer eviction?
I'd go further than that. Just walk off the job. Prison officers did that once before. Government had to bring armed services in to try and run the prisons. They're not trained for it. It was a total stuff up. But the message went to the government, and the government backed down real quick.
Yeah, and I can't help but, I totally agree. I think that the prison officers, they've got a lot of power here. And I'm reminded of that old movie, what was it, Bug's Life, where, I don't know, the cricket or the whatever it was, they subjected the ants to great fear until the ants realized, actually, no, we're stronger than these guys. I think that prison officers hold such an amount of power that they don't even know it. And I think perhaps there seems to be such a severe, possibly institutional disconnect between the brothers and sisters in the service and the union leaders. And it sounds like possibly even those guys, or most of the ones who are just above you in terms of hierarchy. So what's up? What's going on? Have you discussed this with the unions? Has this been discussed with you? I know you can't say too much, but Shane, has this been discussed with the unions themselves?
Oh, look, this has been, some guys have gone in, when they, about the COVID shot. And the unions guys been with them. They know that it's sort of powerless because it's sort of like the unions are now well entrenched in bed with the government. So the unions are going to make sure that their members do what the government is asking. It's now got past all of that. The unions are going to help me. That it's not. They are fully in bed with the government, and they've really got no. They got no push with the government anymore. They'll just go for, we'll get you higher wages, we'll get you this. But when something moral and this deep comes about, they go, we're just going to side with the government.
That's just incredible. Look, look, we've gone 2 minutes over time, but I think this has been actually a really powerful chat. I can tell you that the comments have just gone off the hook, and a lot of them are in discussions there. I'll bring up this one. Ben Stanley, Shane, back in 2018, 16 staff with 700 years over experience retired at the Christmas thing at Pare. Then after that, the average was under 3 years experience. You've got a lot of comments in there about unions. That in terms of that, and it looks like that you guys have got a lot of friends in there. And this is from Victoria Bryan. Look at the largest union in Australia, which sided with the vaccine mandate for tradies, and that's absolutely right. So currently, at the moment in Australia, their union has been attacked by the members because they've just sided with the current government, Dan Andrews. So it really does seem to be that the strength of the pushback will be from the front line. It'll be from the people themselves, and perhaps that is always the best way. Maybe the unions need to be cleared out and allow for the guys at the front line to take it over again. That's what I think. Now, look, final comments, Stu. I'll start with you. Any final comment that you'd like to pass on to the audience, to the people out there? About the vaccine mandates, about whatever's happened in the prisons. What would you like to say?
I'd just like to say to not just prison officers that are listening out there, but everybody, push back against the vaccines. We can, if we stand together, the government has no power. It's like my clan emblem is 5 arrows with a belt around them. The strength in numbers.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Shane, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say, look, I've spoken to lots of police who feel the same. I've spoken to nurses who feel the same. When we used to be in hospitals, handcuffed next to prisoners, and the nurses were speaking, knowing that no one was listening, and they disagreed with all this sort of COVID stuff and that, and I think people are just too scared. They just want to see somebody stand up. They want to see, and then they will lose their fear. But it's until somebody stands up and just goes, no more. This is it. We're drawing the line in the sand here. You're not going to do this to us anymore. That's what's needed. And I think then the rise up will happen.
Well said. Well said. And there's not much else for me to add, but just on behalf of our audience and to you two, as well as to you who are in our audience who have been commenting a lot and have been discussing, from myself and from probably every Kiwi New Zealander out there, God bless you, and thank you so much for your service. We really do appreciate it. It is absolutely worthy.
Thank
And
you.
for our audience watching in, you've heard it. This is strong. This will be up soon on our pages. And these are coming from the front line, years of experience and deep understanding. So we'll be back. We'll be here soon. In the meantime, God bless you and God bless New Zealand.